Most arguments about how Michael Jordan would fare in today's NBA get it all wrong. People pull up spreadsheets and obsess over three-point percentage.
They're good! The game's over, and the Bulls have won. Jordan beat him at the buzzer with a jump shot in the circle, and Chicago has knocked off the Cavs 101.
But they miss the one thing you can't measure: his killer instinct. In a league with way more space and way less physicality, Jordan wouldn't just be good, he'd be an unstoppable force of nature. Forget 30 points a game. We're going to show you why it's not crazy to think Michael Jordan could average 40, and why it might not even be that hard for him. This isn't just another what if. This is a breakdown of why the very DNA of the 2025 NBA is tailor-made for the most dominant scorer the game has ever seen. We're going to look at the rules, the wide-open spaces, the mentality, and the math. By the end, the idea of Jordan hitting 40 a night won't sound like a hot take. It'll start to feel like an inevitability. The generational fan debate is one of the great constants in sports. Old school fans will tell you the 90s were a gladiatorial arena where only the strong survived. Modern fans point to the explosion of skill and advanced analytics as proof that today's league is just on another level. But what if they're both right? And what if that blend of realities creates the perfect storm for one man to shatter every scoring record we thought we knew? For just a moment, let's forget about the analytics, say. The debate over Michael Jordan in the modern era isn't just about stats. It's about will. And in 2025, that will could very well lead to an average of 40 points per game. Here's how. To get why Jordan would feast in 2025, you first have to understand the playground he'd be on. The modern NBA is a scorer's dream, intentionally reshaped over the last 2 decades to pump up offensive firepower. This was no accident. It's the result of deliberate rule changes meant to open up the game. Let's start with the biggest one, the death of hand checking.
The hand checking rule. A defender may not make contact with his hands and/or forearms on an offensive player except below the free throw line extended.
Officially banned in the 04-05 season, this rule fundamentally changed how defenses played on the perimeter. In Jordan's era, a defender could legally keep a hand or forearm on you, constantly steering and bumping you off your path. Now, that's an instant foul. That one change, which some argue was made to encourage more exciting high-flying players, would be like taking the governor off a supercar. For players with MJ's first step, the lanes to the hoop would be wider than ever before. But that's not all. The league also brought in the defensive 3-second rule in 2001. In the 90s, giant centers like Patrick Ewing or Dikembe Mutombo could just set up camp in the paint, acting as a permanent human roadblock. Today, a defender can't just stand in the paint for more than 3 seconds unless they're actively guarding someone.
Seattle by 1, 10 seconds on the shot clock. John Kemp trying to do it one-on-one, blocked by Dikembe, reloads it. He knew Dikembe was there and he wasn't even close on that shot.
He handles him, he gives him a problem.
This rule single-handedly created huge open spaces in the lane that simply weren't there for Jordan. The paint is no longer a fortress, it's an open invitation. Combine these rules with the pace and space revolution and you've got a perfect storm for offense. In the 2023-24 season, the average NBA team took over 35 three-pointers a game. For most of Jordan's career, that number was in the single digits. This means defenders are now stretched all the way out to the arc. The days of packing the paint are gone. If you surround a prime Michael Jordan, the ultimate one-on-one attacker, with 4 shooters, what's a help defender supposed to do? Leave a modern shooter open in the corner? That's a death sentence. Or do you stay home on your shooter and give the greatest scorer of all time a wide-open runway to the basket? It's a strategic nightmare with no right answer. The numbers prove it. League-wide scoring has exploded. In the 90s, the league scoring average hovered in the mid to high 90s.
Back to the live action. Barkley backs in, faces a double team. Dumas is open. 6, and Chicago 2. Michael Jordan hitting on his first attempt.
In the 2023-24 season, it was over 114 points per game. The game is faster, possessions are up, and shots are more efficient. The stage in 2025 is set for fireworks, and Michael Jordan would be arriving with a truckload of dynamite. Now, let's stop talking theory and tell a story. Imagine a 23-year-old Michael Jordan isn't drafted in 1984, but in 2024. He steps into the 2025 NBA as a physical specimen unlike any other. What happens? From day one, the league wouldn't know what hit it. We're talking about a player with the hang time of Ja Morant, the power of Anthony Edwards, and a footwork package that's still unmatched. His first step is a blur. Without a defender legally allowed to put a hand on him, he's at the rim before the defense can even react. As he takes off, the help defender is a step late because the center couldn't camp in the paint and the weak side defender is glued to a 40% three-point shooter. The result? A monster dunk, or a foul. And that's the other side of this. In a more physical era, Jordan still got to the free throw line 8.2 times a game for his career. In today's game, where almost any contact on a driver gets a whistle, defenders would be terrified to touch him. It's not an exaggeration to say he would live at the free throw line. While he might not reach the very top of the league leaders, he'd likely be in the 10 to 12 attempts per game range, similar to current stars like Giannis Antetokounmpo or Joel Embiid. That's a steady diet of easy points night after night. But here's where the modern game truly unlocks MJ, the mid-range. That 15 to 20 foot jumper is considered by many analytics departments to be the worst shot in basketball. But that's for average players. For the master of that space, it's one of the deadliest weapons in the game. And no one was a greater master of the mid-range than Michael Jordan. In the crowded courts of the 90s, he perfected his turnaround fadeaway against suffocating defense. Now, picture that same shot in 2025. The floor is wide open. His defender is on an island, terrified of the drive, so he gives him a foot of space. For MJ, that's an eternity. He rises up from his sweet spot with no help defender in sight. It's a shot he could make in his sleep. While teams are hunting for threes, Jordan would be methodically torturing defenses with the exact shot they're designed to give up. Of course, this is when every modern fan brings up the three ball. But Jordan couldn't shoot threes. This is a common misconception. First, the facts. His career 32.7% from three isn't elite by today's standards, but it's not broken either. And context is key. For most of his career, the three-pointer was an afterthought in NBA offenses. But there's a fascinating 2-year window that shows his adaptability. From 1995 to 1997, the NBA shortened the three-point line. And wouldn't you know it, in the 1995-96 season, Jordan shot a blistering 42.7% from deep on over 3 attempts a game. When the shot became a logical part of the offense, he became elite at it. This hits on the fatal flaw in the he can't shoot argument. His work ethic. Michael Jordan's entire career was about turning weaknesses into strengths. He famously didn't make the varsity team as a sophomore and used that slight as fuel to become the best player in the state. He entered the league as a slasher, so he developed one of the most automatic mid-range jumpers ever. To think that a man with his obsessive drive wouldn't develop a reliable three-point shot in an era that prizes it above all else is to fundamentally misunderstand who he was. With today's coaching and focus on shooting, it's not a stretch to imagine Jordan developing into a solid 37 to 39% three-point shooter, more than enough to keep defenses honest. We can talk rules and stats all day, but what truly separates Jordan, and what would make him so terrifying in 2025, is something you can't find in a box score. It's his mentality, his pathological, all-consuming need to win. We are in an era of player camaraderie, of friendships built in AAU carrying over to the league. That's not a bad thing, but it's a world away from the environment that forged Michael Jordan. He didn't just want to beat you, he wanted to demoralize you. Former opponents don't talk about him as a rival. They talk about him like a force of nature. Gary Payton, one of the greatest defenders ever, admitted that while he tried to wear Jordan down, he knew you can't truly stop a great player like that. You can only hope to slow him down. Now, picture that killer instinct in today's game. In an era where load management is common, Jordan played all 82 games 9 times. He felt he owed the fans his best every single night. He treated every practice like it was Game 7. How do you build a defensive scheme against a player who takes every single possession personally? You can't. You can't model it with an algorithm or counter it with analytics. It's the human element that breaks systems. It's what separates legends from stars. Jordan once said, "I've never lost a game. I just ran out of time." That unshakable confidence would be his most powerful weapon in any era. We've broken down the rules and the skills, but the final piece is putting it all together. the math that gets us to 40. If you're enjoying this breakdown, make sure you hit that subscribe button because you won't want to miss what comes next. So, how could he get to 40? It's not about just hacking up more shots. It's about the sheer diversity of his attack in this offensive paradise. Let's have some fun and map out one possible path to a 40-point average. First, the drives. With no hand checking and a spaced floor, he'd be living at the rim. Let's be conservative and say he gets 6 field goals a night just by blowing by his man on fast breaks. That's 12 points. Second, the free throws. As we said, defenders would be in constant panic mode. Based on what current top scorers get, let's say he makes 8 free throws a night. That's another 8 points. We're already at 20. Third, his mid-range kingdom. The shot that modern defenses are coached to give up. With all that space, his pull-up jumper would be cash. He could easily knock down 7 field goals a game from that area. That's another 14 points. Now we're at 34. Finally, the rest. This is where the threes and hustle plays come in. He wouldn't need to be Steph Curry, just hitting 2 threes a game. 1 on a spot up and 1 off the dribble is all it would take. That's 6 more points. Let's add it up. 12 points from drives, 8 points from the line, 14 from his unstoppable mid-range, 6 from 3. And just like that, we're at 40 points. This isn't a guarantee, but it's a realistic blueprint for how a player with his unique blend of skill, athleticism, and mentality could systematically pick apart modern basketball. The GOAT debate will rage on forever, and that's half the fun. But when you strip away the generational bias and just look at how the game itself has evolved, the conclusion is hard to escape. The modern NBA, with its focus on spacing and freedom of movement, has unintentionally created the perfect laboratory for Michael Jordan to do what he did best: put the ball in the hoop. His physical gifts would be overwhelming against defenses that can't be as physical. His mid-range game is the perfect counterpunch to analytics, and his work ethic would have undoubtedly turned his only perceived weakness into another weapon. But more than anything, it's that fire, that unyielding will to win, that would be an advantage in any era. So, could Michael Jordan average 40 points in 2025? It's not just possible. The better question might be, could anyone stop him? What do you think? Would Jordan hit 40, or would modern defenses find a way? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.